Unless the member would like to take a call.
I will take a call.
I'll give way to you. No, go on.
Oh, look, shall we... Dennis O'Rourke, you've got 2 more calls available if you want.
No.
Phil Twyford.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. I want to thank Dennis O'Rourke, the member for New Zealand First, for injecting a bit of spirit into this debate. And I hope the member sponsoring this bill will get up and respond to some of Mr O'Rourke's arguments, because I think they're worth taking seriously. And I regret actually myself, in my earlier comments, not raising the very obvious question for the member to answer, and that is, why does this bill only apply to Auckland? Because it's not very long ago that we stood in this House and passed legislation that applied all of the provisions around local boards to the rest of the country. And that was government legislation that did that. Basically said, okay, the Auckland model, we're going to make that available to councils all around the country. And it does seem to be really cementing in a sort of strange anomaly into the law books to only make this little tweak around elected members serving on multiple boards to the Auckland Council. So I think that's a strange inconsistency, and I would invite the member to get up and take a call and explain his thinking on that, or in fact whether or not the committee in scrutinising this bill took advice or came to a view on that. I do want to respond to Dennis O'Rourke's analogy that somehow that serving on multiple boards in the commercial world or on statutory boards is perfectly fine, and therefore there's no reason it should be a problem in relation to local boards in Auckland Council. Dennis O'Rourke overlooks the fact that local boards are not commercial boards. They are not just a governance mechanism. Yes, they are called a board, but they are made up of elected representatives. They are politicians, Mr O'Rourke, just like you and I. They are elected members who compete for the privilege of representing their communities and standing up for those communities, serving them, speaking for them, raising issues. They are not members of commercial boards. Members who sit on commercial boards, they may only attend a quarterly meeting and read a few board papers and take part in the occasional email exchange. Most local board members that I know, certainly the Labour local board members in West Auckland and other parts of Auckland, they are very, very hard working. And I know not all local board members are as hard working as the Labour ones, but certainly it is a far cry from the role and the contribution that members of commercial boards make. Mr O'Rourke questioned whether or not there's a conflict of interest to be found in people serving on multiple boards. And I'll just say this to Mr O'Rourke. Many of these boards are competing for the same pool of funds. They are financial competitors in bidding for funds that will finance new projects, new libraries, upgrades, roading, transport projects. They are in direct competition with each other in many, many cases. They may, in fact, be pitching different development projects and seeking funding for, transport infrastructure. So New Lynn may be competing with Henderson, may be competing with Westgate in West Auckland. 3 different local boards in direct competition with each other. And I think that's pretty self-evident, Mr Chairman, that there is a potential conflict of interest in relation to members serving on multiple boards. I do think Mr O'Rourke raises a good argument that, that this legislation does set out to restrict the democratic process. And from a purist democracy point of view, it's quite legitimate to argue that we should just let the voters choose. Let anybody stand and then let the voters choose. That is, though, and I'm surprised to hear this coming from New Zealand First, not a party that I am used to associating with that kind of purist philosophical viewpoint. So it's good. We live and learn, Mr O'Rourke. But it's not a perfect world. It's the world of local board elections is not a perfect market. There isn't perfect information. And so we know that turnout's very low. So in a local government election, we might end up with 30% for turnout, for example. There's quite a low level of engagement and a low level of information available to local board members. And my worry...
Dennis O'Rourke.